You want to know what separates a great defense from just a decent one? It's not always the flashy free agent signing. It's not always the first round pick. Sometimes it is the guys that nobody is talking about, the ones grinding in the background, the ones that sneak onto your roster in late April and May and make your unit genuinely dangerous in ways that don't show up on the hype reel. I'm Fave, and this is Faves, and today we are talking about something that I think has been flying way too far under the radar as we march toward the 2026 season. The Chicago Bears just added 3 ball-hawking defensive backs that could have a real impact on Al Harris's secondary heading into training camp. So sit down, because we're going deep on this one. Let's start with some context, because I think it's important to understand exactly what the Bears are protecting when they go out and add secondary depth right now. Last season, Chicago had the #1 takeaway defense in the entire NFL. Think about what that means. In a league full of elite defensive coordinators and creative offensive minds trying to protect the football, the Bears were the most disruptive unit at creating turnovers in the whole country, and they did it without a dominant pass rush generating consistent heat from the edge. They did it primarily through the intelligence, technique, and ball-hawking instincts that Al Harris installed in that secondary. The man is a defensive backs coach who is one of the most respected corners of his generation as a player, and you can see his fingerprints all over how that unit plays. They are aggressive, they are disciplined, and they have an obsession with finding the football. The problem? This offseason hit that secondary hard. Nahshon Wright, who had 5 interceptions last season and was one of the most reliable playmakers in that unit, left for the New York Jets in free agency. Kevin Byard, the veteran safety who brought leadership and experience to that room, is gone. Jaquan Brisker, the safety who brought physicality and blitz production, is gone. And C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who was a walking chaos agent in coverage, is also gone. That is a lot of ball-hawking Dina walking out the door in one offseason. Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson had to go find reinforcements. And that is exactly what they did through free agency, through the draft, and through undrafted free agency. Now, the starting safety spots are not in question. The Bears used their first-round pick on Oregon's Dylan Thieneman, and they signed former Seattle Seahawks safety Kobe Bryant in free agency. Those are the starters. That situation is locked in, and it is exciting. But what happens behind them matters enormously, especially in a season where this defense is expected to take another step forward. Depth at safety is not a luxury. It is a necessity. Injuries happen, roles expand, and in Dennis Allen's scheme, which leans heavily on safeties as versatile chess pieces who can blitz, cover tight ends, rotate into the box, and play the deep half, you need bodies who understand how to play that way and who can contribute in the third phase while they wait for their opportunity on defense. That brings us to our first player, and this is the one I am most excited to talk about. His name is Skylar Thomas, and he comes to Chicago as an undrafted free agent out of Oregon State. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Undrafted free agent safety from Oregon State. Okay, Fave, who cares? And here's where I push back hard. According to a report from Sports Illustrated, Skylar Thomas received $200,000 in guaranteed money from the Bears as a UDFA, the 4th most guaranteed money among all of Chicago's undrafted signings this year. The Bears do not hand out guaranteed money to guys they don't believe in. That number tells you something about how highly this front office thinks of him. And Bleacher Report's Gary Davenport went as far as calling Thomas the Bears' most exciting undrafted free agent addition this entire offseason. That is a significant statement. So who is Skylar Thomas, and why should Bears fans care? Well, let's go through it. He is 22 years old and stands 6'2" at 212 pounds. That is legitimate safety size. He spent 5 seasons at Oregon State playing in 49 games with 26 starts, including all 12 games in each of his final 2 seasons. He was a team captain in his final year. And over his entire college career, he accumulated 191 total tackles, 3 interceptions, 17 pass breakups, 1 forced fumble, and 3 fumble recoveries. He led Oregon State in total tackles in each of his last 2 seasons. This is a player with production, with leadership credentials, and with the versatility to line up at multiple spots in the secondary. But here is what I think is the most compelling part of the Skylar Thomas story. And it is something that Sports Illustrated highlighted that genuinely jumped out at me. This kid is a specialist.
Josh Blackwell!
According to NFL analyst Lance Thomas demonstrated real pass-catching tight ends during the college tape evaluation process. Zierlein specifically pointed to a 2024 matchup where Thomas locked down a tight end prospect who was later drafted in the second round, limiting him to 2 catches while recording 2 passes defensed in that game, including the game-sealing one. Now think about the Bears' 2026 schedule for a second. As reported by Sports Illustrated, the upcoming season features tight ends like TJ Hawkinson, Dallas Goedert, Tucker Kraft, Kyle Pitts, Hunter Henry, Sam Laporta, and Dalton Kincaid on the opponent roster. That is a murderer's row of pass-catching tight ends. A player who can shadow those guys in coverage is incredibly valuable, and you cannot put a price on that if a starter goes down. And the special teams piece is real too. According to multiple reports, Zierlein specifically called Thomas a special teams star, and his Pro Football Focus grades back that up, with Thomas recording grades of 70 or better in that category 3 separate times during his Oregon State career, including an elite 80.1 grade in 2024. That is the kind of special teams contributor that makes your 53-man roster. The Bears have had a track record under Ryan Poles of finding that one UDFA every year who sneaks onto the active roster. Jack Sanborn, Jade Walker, Theo Benedette. Fave's personal opinion? Skylar Thomas has every ingredient to be that guy in 2026. Now let's move to the second player, and this one involves a slightly different profile. The Bears also added UDFA cornerback Casey Eziamume out of Tulane. Now, the stat sheet on Eziamume is not going to blow you away on first glance, but let's talk about what is actually there and why this signing makes sense in the context of what this secondary needs. At 6'1" and 198 pounds, Eziamume has the size that the Bears covet at the cornerback position. He is quick and he is physical, which fits exactly the kind of cornerback Al Harris likes to deploy in this system. According to multiple reports, Eziamume accumulated 23 total tackles and 9 pass breakups at Alabama A&M before transferring to Albany, and then he used the spring transfer portal window to join Tulane in 2025, where he added 6 more pass deflections in limited action. Now, Fave's honest take on Eziamume: he is probably not making this 53-man roster out of training camp. I want to be straight with you on that. The Bears have Jalen Johnson locked in at number 1, Tyreek Stevenson and Malik Muhammad fighting for number 2, Kyler Gordon in the nickel, and then Terrell Smith and Za Frazier also trying to make noise. That is a crowded room. But here's why the signing still matters. First, practice squad caliber cornerbacks who can cover and who have demonstrated pass deflection ability are exactly what makes your starters better in practice. You cannot simulate a press man coverage scheme without corners who can execute it on the scout team. Eziamume has that skill set. Second, the Bears lost both Nahshon Wright and CJ Gardner-Johnson in free agency. As reported by multiple outlets, after losing those 2 players, Chicago will take all the reserve secondary help it can get. Eziamume fills that role, and if an injury creates an opening on the active roster, his speed and coverage background put him in position to step in. There is also a development angle here that I think matters when you are talking about a 21-year-old cornerback who has bounced through multiple programs and who is still figuring out his game. The Bears coaching staff under Al Harris has shown a consistent ability to unlock defensive backs who were undervalued elsewhere. Harris has built one of the most respected secondary units in the league. If Eziamume can learn from that environment and absorb what Harris is teaching, how to read route combinations, how to play technique and man coverage, how to get your hands on the football, there is a real developmental path here. He is young enough that this could genuinely change his career. And that brings us to the third addition, and this one is the most experienced of the group by a significant margin. The Bears signed former Green Bay Packers safety Anthony Johnson Jr. on May 21st, according to Fox Sports insider Jordan Schultz. And I want to be straight with you on this one too. Anthony Johnson Jr. has had a rough road in this league. He was a 7th-round pick by the Packers in the 2023 NFL Draft, started 4 games as a rookie and showed enough to get people's attention, then was waived by Green Bay before his second season. The New York Giants claimed him off waivers. He played primarily on special teams in 2024 and then missed the entire 2025 season with an undisclosed injury that landed him on the physically unable to perform list. He was released by New York in March 2026, cleared waivers without being claimed, and now finds himself in Chicago. So what is the case for Anthony Johnson Jr. as a Chicago Bear? Let's make it. because I think there are a couple of legitimate reasons why this signing makes sense, even if you look at his career trajectory and feel skeptical. First, as reported by Sports Illustrated, he has NFL starting experience, 4 games at safety for the Packers in 2023. During that rookie season, he accumulated 24 tackles, 1 interception, and 3 pass breakups in 12 games. That interception came in a meaningful game moment when Johnson made a play on a tipped ball in the fourth quarter. He has shown he can function in an NFL defensive scheme. According to a report from Sports Illustrated citing Fox Sports, he is now healthy and ready to go after missing 2025 entirely. And at 26 years old, he is still young enough that this could genuinely be a revival opportunity. Second, and this is the part that I personally find the most intriguing, Anthony Johnson Jr. spent time inside the Green Bay Packers organization. He knows how they think. He knows how they prepare. He has been in that building during the week, practiced against their offense, and attended their film sessions. For a team that plays the Packers twice every single year in a division that has very real NFC North title implications, that kind of organizational intelligence matters. According to a report from Sports Illustrated on Chicago Bears coverage, Dennis Allen has specifically emphasized secondary versatility in his defensive back additions this offseason. Johnson can play multiple spots in the back end, which is exactly what Allen demands from every defensive back on this roster. His special teams experience is also real. According to Acme Packing Company, he logged 113 special teams snaps with the Giants in 2024, more than 5 times his defensive snap total that season. That is a player who has learned to make himself valuable in the third phase while waiting for his defensive opportunity. Now, here is what I want to zoom out and say about these 3 additions collectively, because I think when you look at Skylar Thomas, Casey Eziomumi, and Anthony Johnson Jr., together, they tell you something important about what Al Harris and Ryan Poles are building in this secondary. They are not trying to survive at depth. They are trying to stockpile options. They are trying to build a room where the competition is fierce from the 7th spot all the way down to 12, where every player knows that someone is right behind them capable of taking their role, and where that competition makes everyone better. That is how you maintain a number 1 takeaway defense when you lose 4 key contributors in one offseason. You do not replace talent dollar for dollar. You replace it with volume and with competition. Faves real talk for a second. What made this Bears secondary special last year was not just that they had talented players. It was that those players played angry. They played like they had something to prove. Nahshon Wright played like a man who deserved a bigger contract. C. Jay Gardner-Johnson played like a chaos agent who wanted to be disruptive on every single snap. Jaquan Brisker played with a physical edge that showed up in the run game and in the pass game. Replacing that energy is not about writing a big check. It is about finding players who are hungry, who are motivated, and who have something to prove. A UDFA safety who got $200,000 in guaranteed money and wants to make his first NFL roster, that is a hungry player. A cornerback bouncing through his 3rd program who finally made it to the NFL, that is a motivated player. An Iowa State product who had his NFL career derailed by injuries and who now has one more chance to show he belongs, that is a player with a point to prove. That energy, if Al Harris can harness it and channel it into his secondary culture, is exactly what allows a ball hawking unit to keep doing what it does even when the personnel changes. And that's what the Bears are betting on with these 3 additions. Training camp is almost here. These roster battles are going to be absolutely real, whether it is Skylar Thomas earning that 5th safety spot or Casey Eziomumi making noise on special teams and working his way up the depth chart, or Anthony Johnson Jr. using his Packers experience to carve out a veteran presence in that room. There are genuine storylines here worth following, and when that confetti from the 2026 season falls, there is a very real chance that one of these 3 guys ends up being part of the reason why. Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Which one of these 3 ball hawks are you most excited to watch in training camp? Do you think Skylar Thomas makes this 53-man roster? Is Anthony Johnson Jr. a camp body or a sleeper? Let me know down below because I read every single response. And if this is the kind of Bears coverage that gets your blood pumping, smash that like button and subscribe to Favs right now so you never miss a story. We are building something special here, and I want you in this community from day one. Bear down. I'll see you in the next one.